That's made me happy. I don't really like waiting. For those of you who know me and have had me before, you're going to understand what all these things are in the background, because I used to have them around my board in my classroom. And then my key. Yes, Rafe. Love it. Hi. Oh, Rafe. What a legend. We've got another one. It's just saying, hi, Evie. Hey. Oh, that's so cool. I wish I could see you. We might have to just put this onto Zoom if it ends up just being a few of us. Because, yes, Chris Rice. Chris Rice is actually here. We don't need him to work. We always need him. He's always here to help. But I kind of put him to the side today because we're going to focus on these. But you guys that have had me are going to know exactly what this is all about. But I thought last week we looked at writing metaphors, how to write a metaphor, and looking at an extended metaphor. So I thought for today we could look at, well, how do we write about them in literature text or language text? Because you may have a text in your language paper that is using a metaphor and you want to talk about it. So the what, how, why, I works for everything. Okay, we've got like 1 minute, so I'm really tempted to start. I'll wait one of you guys can tell me when to start, otherwise I'll just keep rambling. It's so lovely to have like all your names there. It's so cool. I hope you're all really well. And I know you got like Leah, Ted, Rafe, loving life right now with what, 2 days left, 3 days left of school. Nice. Rest of the world have got another couple of weeks. Okay. My computer says it's 5 o'clock, so let's go. If you do not know an inspector calls, it is not the end of the world. Okay. Essentially, here we're going to look at what, how, why, I, and that can be applied to any text, literature and language. As an examiner, one of the key things that we always look for is essentially what's the student trying to say, and is it clear what they're trying to say? How has it been done in the text? So how has the writer, like what technique, essentially, it will be what you guys are used to hearing. Why has it been used? But the why can also relate to why have I chosen it? Why has it been used? Why does it make a difference? There are lots of whys that you can then consider from this. And then your I is always that personal, kind of the impact on me as a reader, or the impact as a reader, as a collective, or especially for an inspector course, you can talk about the I, then, and now. Same with Shakespeare. You could talk about the impact on the audience then, and you could talk about the impact that it has on you today. So they're really, really simple, what, how, why, I, for you to remember going to that exam. And if you're covering those, you're pretty much covering those bases that you need, okay? So there's a quote here that we're going to make a start. We're going to link from last week when we talked about metaphors and saying something is something, so a way of describing it. And here we've got Sheila. And this is the point when she's realised and she's twigged that, hold on a minute, we need to be quiet. We need to stop talking because we're making things worse for ourselves here. Now, for those of you that know inspector calls, we've got capitalist. So the capitalist kind of society, Mr. Burling, Mrs. Burling, Gerald, they are essentially a type of living, believing and thinking that, you know, everything is for me and I do everything for myself and I am this class and everything is great and I don't care about all of these people. And then you had Priestley, who was socialist, going, actually, we all count, we're all valued. And so he's writing this play from this point of view of trying to make capitalism look bad in a basic way. And then we have Sheila, who's his daughter, who comes out and is like, well, hold on a minute. There's something going on here. This isn't right. And she makes this quote, that's what I meant when I talked about building up a wall. that's sure to be knocked flat. It makes it harder to bear. Now, for some of you, this is going to be completely new. For some of you, you're going to know absolutely what I'm talking about here. But the most important starting point is going to be our what. What is it that we're talking about? So we have to think, well, this is about Sheila, and this is about her using this metaphor to show actually that she's really, really intelligent. So essentially, our first kind of note to ourselves, and if you've got pen and paper, that's absolutely fab, because I'm going to change this in a minute and you might want to have some notes because there is something I'm going to ask you to do. Okay, so our what essentially is that Sheila is, she's intelligent, she's switched on, she's picking this up before the rest of her family. She is the daughter saying, hold on, mum, dad, alcoholic brother, Gerald, who I no longer like, how dare you? Can you not just listen and understand to what is going on here? And so she is showing this kind of hope for the future, that she can be driving this change that Priestley wants, because she's sort of standing up to people. And this is showing that she's switched on way before they are. She talks about how this wall, and this wall is the metaphor that we're going to be talking about today. So if we're thinking about, she's saying, building up a wall that's going to be knocked down. So if that's a metaphor, she's not literally building a brick wall in her house or in the garden. What she's doing is she's saying, if we build up this wall between us and somebody else, we're making a block, we're making a barrier. That's what happens when we're building up a wall. A wall essentially is to stop people coming in or stop people going out. It's a physical barrier there. And she's saying that by us lying all the time, we're making this wall higher. We're making things a hell of a lot worse for ourselves. And that actually what we need to be doing is taking responsibility, because the higher you build this wall, the worse it's going to be when that wall is knocked down. It's going to crash down around everybody. So it's really, really insightful for her to be making comments like that, especially when, if you know the play, at the beginning she comes across as this like giddy, I don't really care, I'm just going shopping because I've got money. And then she starts to change. But that's for another day. So we've now talked about, or I've just talked about, what are we talking about? We're talking about Sheila coming across as intelligent. How has this been shown? Well, this has been shown through the metaphor of building up a wall. And that when that wall is smashed and knocked down, the higher the wall, the bigger the damage. So that's our metaphor there. If you guys just want to, if you've got any questions, please just write them in. If you're happy, just give me a, yep, I'm following you. Yep, that's cool. If you're just like, what is she banging on about? Sorry, make that comment too. It's fine. It's been a long day. So we've got our what, our how, our why. Why is it being done? Now, our why for this one is really good. If we're thinking about the higher grades, so for 7+, we want to be thinking about context and themes whenever we can. Oh, yeah, we've all got Mick, cool. Right, we've got Leah's all cool. Rafe's following. That's fantastic. This is 7+, so this is important. We want to be getting context in whenever we can, and also be commenting on themes whenever we can. So our why is, well, why has this been done? Why is Sheila being presented in this way? Why is a metaphor being used? Well, for that one, why is a metaphor being used? Priestley doesn't want to make it really obvious and her just state the obvious. He wants to have people think. And obviously it completely washes over her family's heads as well. So they don't get it, which again helps highlight her intelligence, because she's metaphorically speaking and it just literally blows over their heads. And Mr. Burning's just like, oh, shut up, Sheila, just go away. He doesn't have the time for it. So our why could be kind of multiple things, but that really important one is the context and thinking about, right, why have we got Sheila, of all the people, using this metaphor and saying, if we don't do something about this, we're all going to become crushed. And our context here for this is really like the expectations of women. I'm hoping you can see this down here. But if you're making notes, so you can make your notes. We've got expectations of women. So we know that we're in a society where women are, well, Sheila especially, comes from a wealthy family. So her job, her purpose in life is to go shopping, get married, and have children. Okay, that's it. That's what she's got. But that's normal. She doesn't need to be going to work. She doesn't have, they don't really have the intelligence for that. She can just stay at home and look after the house, look after the children. That's all good. So we've got, in terms of our context, what we expect women to be like during this time. And then Sheila comes out of it as in like, hold on a minute. And she speaks up, which goes against those expectations. She speaks up. It goes against the expectations of her family. She speaks up. She's telling them what to do, what to think, telling them to like get a grip. Goes against the expectations of that time. And that's really important for the why. And again, 7+, we've got to think, why is Priestley doing this? What's the purpose from the author's point of view? And here for him, the purpose that we've got here, essentially for our why, is that he's trying to highlight the theme. And I don't know if you can get this. I'm going to just write it up here. We've got the theme here of hope. So what Sheila is doing is representing this hope for future generations. She's representing and showing that we can change, society can change, and perhaps it's the younger generation that are offering us this hope that she could grow up to not become her parents, that she can grow up and perhaps be a little more socialist. As Priestley is socialist, he's trying to get his views across. He's using her almost to do that, to show that you can change. And there's hope for the future, for us, for our future, because we don't want to live under a capitalist society. So if she can be someone that drives change, and she's a woman, yeah, go women, it's really, really significant, which brings us to the I. How do I feel about that? And you, again, if you remember at the beginning, those of you who are here from the beginning, we talk about the I. The I can be I, me, you, the reader, but the I can also be reader, audience at the time. Now, remember, he wrote this play and it was set in the past. So the audience would have been sitting watching this, knowing the Titanic had sunk, knowing that the Mr. Burling is absolutely wrong, knowing all of those things and sitting there thinking, he's an absolute moron. What is he on about? We have that instant dislike to him, or they would have at the time. So for Sheila to come out, she's almost a little bit like a hero to them at that time, just going, oh, thank goodness, somebody that is like speaking, you know, what I'm thinking. I've just gone through world wars. Life is awful. How dare Mr. Burling say all of this? Sheila is a bit more hopeful if she's going to be kind of running the ship, as we say, moving forwards. So that theme of hope is part of our why and I. And then finally, we would have another theme, responsibility. And that's important because he's trying to show that we must be responsible. He's trying to get across this responsibility that as individuals, we need to have. Socialists feel we are together as one. We need to have that responsibility. Whereas the capitalists, which is shown through the rest of the Burling family, is that they have no responsibility. That's why the wall is building, because of that lack of responsibility. Oh, it's nothing to do with me. All of them say it except Sheila, who then goes, actually, I feel really bad about this. So we've got hope and responsibility. Now, that's a lot of information. I appreciate that. But it's just showing you how you can use what, how, why, I to ask yourself questions and think, what is it that I'm talking about? What is it that I want to say? How has this been done? Why has it been done? Okay, what do I think about it? What would an audience, what would a reader then think about this? And suddenly you have loads to talk about. And you're not just sitting there going, which I know everybody does, oh, God, I've made a point and a quote, and I don't really know what to say now. I'm a bit stumped. So we then have loads of ideas. So the next thing, moving on. If you've got any questions, please just type them in. Again, some of you are going to be completely used to this, but these are the ones that I've chosen off of the wall for us to use today. So if we've now got to write about how a metaphor has been used, thinking about what am I saying, how's it been done, why has it been done, what do I think about it? I've chosen these ones for you guys today. See, Rafe, Chris Rice is kind of creeping in here. I stole a little H from Chris Rice, so he's always handy. We're going to go with point. So for those of you that don't know this, we always have to make a valid point. And if you're going to kind of follow along and do this activity, I want you to think about the writer uses a metaphor to show what, or the writer uses a metaphor to highlight Sheila's intelligence. To try and use that wording in that phrase to make a really strong point. Writer uses to show. If you just put the writer uses a metaphor, no marks. You have to say the why. What is it? Why are we doing it? Then, because we always use for example and it gets boring, we're going to sound fancy as we introduce our quote. This is illustrated when Sheila is talking to her family and says, da, 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 da. Then we have the key stuff, okay? This is where the money is, people. This is where we get our marks. So, nice, simple point, easy. Quote, easy, grade 4. This is the big stuff. And the more of this you can do, the higher your grade. So we then have to think, well, I'm going to change it from word, because we'll come back to, because you can have, obviously, the word wall, but also you could just have the metaphor if you wanted to talk about the technique as that. So point, evidence, use of the metaphor conveys the idea that, so we're sounding clever, everyone likes to sound clever, explain what you mean. Talk about your how and the why. This is your how and why and I section. This is the marks. I want you to see if you can get highlights in there. So this highlights for some reason in some way, whatever, like Sheila, or the use of the word wall, highlights, a physical barrier, stopping people going out, stopping people coming in. Why has that been done? What do I think about that? Got lots to talk about. And then just in case, so we don't forget our I, you can say I in your essays. That's absolutely fine. And lots of people go, it doesn't really sound very good if I just say, I think this and I think that. It's a personal response. You get marks for a personal response. They want to know what you think, not what I think. And so many people write about everything they've been told. But if you frame it as in, well, I think this, as a reader, I'm left feeling a bit like, I'm not sure. Like Gerald. What is the point in Gerald? Sometimes I do wonder. You can say that. You can say, it's kind of leaving me questioning, like, how these people were in control in the first place. How did these people get to these positions and survive? You can be completely honest. It's your opinion, okay? So that's leaving the reader. But please remember, if you want to be getting the higher grades, you've got two readers. You've got you, and then you've got readers when it was written for texts like An Inspector Calls, Shakespeare, etc. So you can flip that if you've got more to say. Okay? Last thing. So we've gone through our quote, we've annotated it. I've talked a lot about what, how, why, I. Then we're looking at our what, how, why, I, using our phrases to build a paragraph together. Now, what I'm going to ask you guys to do, if you want to, entirely your choice, is to have a go at using these and the notes that you've been making, if you've been making them from that quote, to write a paragraph. And when you've done it, send it to me. I don't want you to do it now, because I'm going to be sitting here waiting for you to be typing them in. Send it to me. So you can either send it on the link after this, or you can send it through my Facebook Messenger, or you can email it to me. Everything's Gemma's English Gems, so it should all be everywhere for you to find me. And if you want to, I will then look at it and give you some feedback, talk about where we could add some information. So if you want to have that extra help, have a go at writing it and send it to me. If you don't, here's one I made earlier, and do not freak out. I had to write small because my paper is small. I had a lot to say. So, I'm pretty sure you can't read this. I will read this to you. I've highlighted here in orange where kind of a lot of my Chris Rice words and my phrases are. But what I'm going to do is, as I'm just going to read this through, and I'm going to tick where I would be getting marks for you to realise how much detail from using what, why, how, why, I, how much detail you can then get through here. So just bear with me. Priestley uses a metaphor technique to show how insightful and intelligent Sheila is. Lovely point there, nice and clear, full stop, done. This is illustrated when, sound fancy, she realises they cannot hide from the truth and says, building a wall to be knocked flat. Evidence done. I'm on a grade 4. Rock on. The use of the metaphor, double tick, conveys, tick, the idea that she is more intelligent than her family think. Okay, so I'm starting to show some understanding here. The metaphorical wall relates to the lies and capitalist lifestyle that they essentially are living at this point. So I'm going to get a mark here for context for mentioning the capitalist. I haven't explained what it is. I've dropped it in there. I'm going to get a mark for that. Sheila understands that if they continue to live this way, the wall will only get bigger, causing more damage when it falls. So again, a deeper understanding here. And this is where I'm using these phrases to explain in more detail. Furthermore, a wall is a physical barrier. So I'm saying what a wall is. Used to stop people coming in or going out. Let's put that into perspective. Sheila realises the only way to be free is to take responsibility. Key theme, we get a mark for that. For your actions. Priestley deliberately uses Sheila to show hope for the future generations because she doesn't fit the norms of women and appears more socialist in her views. I've mentioned socialist, another point for context. And all this bit here is doing, if you realise, I'm talking about Priestley, the writer's purpose. Why is he doing it? So I've done my what am I talking about and my how has it been done. And this is now why? Why do I think this? Why did he do this? Why is this? Why am I talking about this? So much explanation here. Okay. He also highlights the theme of responsibility and suggests that if we continue to live as capitalists, the wall will get bigger, having negative consequences for us in the future. So I've then related that as a reader, what he was trying to do, and we is the I. I've just said we instead of I. And the overall, that's his message that he's trying to get across. So from doing that, I've mentioned my what, how, why in loads of detail, I. Use those phrases to build that together. So you've got loads and loads to talk about. Lots of detail. Now, so many people are going to say, how many paragraphs do I write? Oh, 3, oh, 5, I don't know. And teachers will try and give you that reason. But actually, there is no answer. You could write 2 of these and get a 9. It's the quality and the detail of what you're saying. You can write 10p paragraphs that are rubbish and get a 4. Rubbish, well, not rubbish, but not have the extra detail. So it isn't the number of paragraphs, it's the quality of what you're talking about. And that's really important. So get out of your head, oh God, I haven't got enough to say. Say a lot about a little and bring in themes of hope. themes of responsibility, mention Mr. Burling, show you understand the whole text in the one paragraph you're doing, and your grade is going to go up because you're getting everything there in one massive go. And that's pretty much it. So we've 25 minutes. That's pretty good for me. So we have here from our quote all the way through to writing a paragraph. And I appreciate that that's really, really fast, but you can always watch this back. You can always send me a message and ask me questions. If you want to have a go at writing this paragraph, I am more than happy to have a read of it and send some feedback to you, okay? Does anybody have any questions, or are we all happy? Are we all good? I know there's a delay, so any comments from anybody? I know there's a huge delay, so it takes a while. But my view is that we are done unless anyone has a specific question. Yep, Rafe's good. Rafe, if you can, have a go, write that paragraph whilst it's in your head. Shouldn't take you long. Email it over, I'll have a look, because we're going grade 9s. I'm still going to hound you for grade 9s from here. Don't you worry. Everyone else good? Eve is good. Fab. Ted, cool. Okay. So I'm assuming that we're all fine here. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to do, thanks, Ray. Hopefully I can read it. I'm sure I can give it a whirl. It's not been that long. Leah's good. Fab. Okay, guys, I'm going to do one more of these on here next week. And if we're not getting loads of people, I will just put them to Zoom, because I can then Zoom out to less people. It's easier when I've got the emails, because the idea of this was just free lessons for whoever wants to join. But if no one's joining, I might kind of like spin it every now and then I can just email you my link, put my Zoom link on there, and then we can see each other, and it's so much easier because we can talk. And I know Ted said that last time. It's like, I know all my lessons are on Zoom, but for this purpose, I wanted to be able to reach more people. I really hope that you found that useful, guys. And I know there's a lot of information in one go. If the one thing I want you to take from today, what, how, why, I. Okay? What am I talking about? How has it been done? My technique. Why has it been done? Why is it there? Why have I chosen it? Really put myself in the eye. What do I think about it? What does the reader then think about it? Hopefully you've got loads and loads to talk about. Absolutely fab. You guys are all wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm done. Bang on time. That's amazing. Any questions? Just drop them down, email me, and hopefully I will see you all very soon. Take care, guys, and thank you so much. Bye, everyone. You are welcome, Evie. Bye, guys. No worries, Ray.